All right, sorry about that. We're getting our technical things out of the way. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We are going to call the meeting to order. I know you're still eating, but we want to get through a lot of questions. Maybe it's going to work. We might not have the mics on our side today. Okay. Sorry about that. Welcome. I know we have some new friends here today, so we're so glad you're here. And we want to welcome you, and we want to welcome our candidates. Thank you for being here. These are the local school board candidates today. So District 1 and District 3. And then we also have Craig here. He's unopposed. That's dying. We'll try it one more time. There we go. Maybe. I have to check. Okay, sorry. Anyways, we have Craig Seegmiller as well. He's unopposed, but he's currently on the school board, so we're happy to have him here. And I know that we want to welcome our elected officials. We have Mayor Nanette Billings. She's always a great support to us. Thank you for being here. And anyone else sneaking on me? Sometimes the commissioners do. I'll just talk loud for a second. It keeps popping off. I don't know. There we go. Test. There we go. Okay, and then as far as announcements, we may have some debates coming up here now that we're done with the GOP convention, so we'll let you know. We're solidifying some of those details to get some candidate debates coming up in May. And we just want to remind you, the note cards on the table, that's where you're going to write your questions for our candidates, and we'll pick those up. So if you have a question, jot that down, as well as the volunteer hour sheets. I know a lot of you have been serving as delegates and things and campaigning and doing candidate things. So all those hours count as well as non-political service. So write those down for us. We keep track of those for the National Republican Women, as well as we'll do some fun things at the end of the year to recognize you guys for your service. So jot those down each month and get those to us. You can, if you forget to do it here, you can always email us or text us or whatever as well. And if you haven't renewed your membership, we'd invite you to do that. Let's see. We also want to announce congratulations to one of our members, Joanne Brinton. She won her state school board race at the convention. So our bylaws don't differentiate with the SB 54. So we have to maintain neutrality still through the primary election, but we want to congratulate her. She did a great job. So if you personally want to get with the candidates and help out that way, you can, obviously. So, and then we also need to announce that our member at large, Debbie Allred, has needed to resign. She has a new job, and so she's not going to be able to serve on our board anymore. Our bylaws state that the executive board will vote to fill that vacancy when it's mid-term. But I would like to invite all of our members, if you want to nominate yourself or someone else, please let us know. Our board will be meeting on Monday, so if you'd like to let us know the name or yourself, we'd love to take your feedback into that position. The member at large is the liaison between you as members and the executive board, and they help in other duties that are designated. So if that's something you're interested in, please let us know. We'll be working that out, and we wish Debbie the best. She's awesome. She'll still be here when she can, but she just couldn't take that position on right now. So, okay, we're going to move into our prayer by our chaplain, Sharon, and then we will have our Americanism by Charlotte and the pledge, and then we will turn the time back over to Sharon. She's going to talk a little bit about our police appreciation this month. Following Sharon, we'll have a quick membership report by Joanne, and we'll go to that point.
I hope that stays there. Yeah. Is it working? Okay. Let us pray. Excuse me. Let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, we're thankful to Thee for today, our National Day of Prayer, that brings people of all faiths together in prayer to Thee. We're thankful to Thee to be together, joined by new members and guests, thankful to be back at the Abbey Inn, and thankful to Thee for Carrie and her staff, through whom Thou provides the meal we receive here today. We're grateful to Thee for the successful and informative April meeting with our Sunshine Caucus. And we're thankful to Thee to welcome today local school board candidates. We welcome Heidi Gunn, Larry Meyers, Craig Seegmiller, Cindy Shields, and Ron Wade. We appreciate them being here to speak with us. We're thankful to Thee for the return of the Ironman Triathlon on Saturday, which brings economic benefits to our area. We're grateful to Thee for our 10 county law enforcement agencies whom we honor during this Law Enforcement Appreciation Month. Father, we ask Thy blessing for the Abbey Inn and for Carrie and her staff who continue to support us. May our relationship with them continue. We ask Thy blessing for our Washington County law enforcement officers. May they remain safe in their work, keeping us safe. We ask Thy blessing for the Ironman athletes. May they enjoy the competition and their time in Dixie. We ask Thy blessing for our ally Israel, still in battle. May it have the strength to persevere against those who seek to destroy it, and may she be triumphant for her people and the world. We ask Thy blessing for our fellow Americans in the Midwest, for those who lost a loved one, and for the many who lost homes or businesses to multiple tornadoes' destruction last week. May they restore and rebuild their lives and communities as quickly as possible. And lastly, Father, we ask Thy blessing for the family and friends of the fallen and injured officers in North Carolina on Monday, and may they be remembered and honored for their service. Father, we humbly ask these blessings in the name of Thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I've chosen a presentation today about Memorial Day and Arlington National Cemetery. May 30th, traditionally, or May 27th this year, is Memorial Day, formerly known as Decoration Day. Congress recognized Decoration Day as a federal holiday in 1938. People began to refer to the holiday as Memorial Day after World War II, and the federal government adopted the Memorial Day name in 1967. Arlington National Cemetery officially became a national cemetery on June 15, 1864, by order of Secretary of War Edwin Stanton. The original cemetery was 200 acres and has grown to 639 acres as of 2020. In the beginning, it was segregated cemetery, segregated by race and rank until 1948, when President Harry Truman desegregated the military. Initially, being buried at a national cemetery was not considered an honor, but it was essential that service members whose families could not afford to bring them home for funerals were given a proper burial. The tradition continues today and is one reason why Arlington transformed from being one of the many national cemeteries to the premier national cemetery for the military. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier was dedicated on November 11, 1921. with interment of unknowns from World War I, and later tombs recognizing the unknowns from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. 2 presidents are buried at Arlington National Cemetery, William Howard Taft and John F. Kennedy. By the 1980s, to prevent the cemetery from running out of space, the U.S. government authorized expansion and established new regulations to restrict eligibility for in-ground burial. Columbarium courts were also created for above-ground interments. Today, approximately 400,000 veterans and their eligible dependents are buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Service members from every one of America's major wars, from the Revolutionary War to today's conflicts, are interred at Arlington National Cemetery. As a result, the history of our nation is reflected on the grounds of the cemetery. Arlington National Cemetery holds a special place in my heart, as several of my friends and acquaintances are buried there, as well as my father, a retired Army officer, along with my mother, and also my younger brother, a retired Army Reserve officer, Reserve Sergeant. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so May is Law Enforcement Appreciation Month, and within that month, there's a designated police week, which is a little more than a week. It's the 9th through the 18th. The week is technically dedicated to fallen officers. We use that week, however, as our week and time frame to honor our local law enforcement agencies. And we've been doing that since, I think, 2020 was the first year. This year, and we try to do something different every year. This year, our plan was to offer every officer some kind of little treat from a food establishment. So based on where agencies are located, different towns across our county, we don't just do St. George area. A number of establishments were contacted, and they have volunteered to participate, partner with us. So for example, without being specific to the establishments I was able to contact, some of the treats that they will get, that they are offered to, they just have to go by and pick up. There's a couple of places that are offering a free donut. One's offering a donut and a drink. There's a bagel and a drink. There's a smoothie. There's a blizzard. There's a couple places with an ice cream cone for free to the officer. So those are the kinds of little things that are going to happen this year for Police Week for all our agencies. And we hope they take us up on the offer. We'll never know how many participate, but we have enough contributions that hopefully every officer can stop somewhere and get something if they choose to. So that's our Police Week appreciation for our law enforcement agencies in the county. Thanks.
Well, welcome everybody. Glad to have you here. It's a beautiful spring day, and I'm so excited to hear from school board candidates. This has become very near and dear to my heart the last few months as I'm running for the state school board too. We have some new members. If you have just joined our club, we've got 3 of them here today. Emily and Sean Butler, or Shabine, is that? Thank you. And Eric Nielsen is here. Thank you and welcome. We had 5 new members join this month, and we love having men join as associates. As you can see, we're not exclusive with who joins. You're just an associate member, and we love having the feedback and having you with us. We currently have 91 members and 20, or yes.
I was going to say Sybil Gish.
Oh, Sybil Gish. Okay, you just joined today. Thank you. So Sybil, welcome. So we have 71 current members and 20 associate members who join. And we've got gym members as well. So we have some new gym members. This gym members donate extra to our club, and it enables us to not have to do the fundraising outside of that. So we so appreciate, we've got silver, gold, and diamond memberships. And Laurie Abshir, Janine Burton, and Emily Butler are our new silver members this month. Thank you. And Carol is our new gold member this month. Thank you, Carol. Jennifer, do you have the decals to give to them?
I'm just trying to write it up and I'll go walk around. Who's the third silver?
We've got Laurie and Janine and Emily Butler, so we can help with that. And then Joe Elison didn't join us today, but he just joined as a diamond member, which is huge. That's a $500 donation to the club, and it comes with free lunches for the whole year, so. That's huge. So anyway, please join us, and we look forward to hearing from our school board candidates. Thank you.
All right, now what we've been waiting for, right? We're gonna keep our format we've been doing with a lot of the other candidates, so we're gonna let them have a 3-minute opening statement, and then we'll take your questions on the note cards. So I think Joanne's gonna pick up those note cards if you've got those ready, and we'll go into those. And then closing, we'll give you guys additional couple minutes as well towards the end. We've got Marion, thank you for being our timer. If you guys go long, she's gonna hold up the little sign to keep us on track. So, but yes, thank you. And we do have to excuse Heidi early. She's heavily involved in PTA and things this time of year. She actually has another school meeting to go to. So we're gonna start with her for opening statements.
Well, thank you. I am honored to be here today and to introduce myself to each of you. What a wonderful crowd it is here. I just wanted to introduce myself. Again, my name is Heidi Gunn. I am the mother of 8 children. My oldest is 25 all the way down to 13. My oldest 3 have graduated from college and are working in their respective careers at this moment. I have one daughter who is serving an LDS mission in Peru. I have a son who is getting ready to graduate this month from Snow Canyon High School, another son in 10th grade, a daughter in 8th grade at Snow Canyon Middle School, and a son who is in 7th grade at Lava Ridge Intermediate School. I am from Southern Utah. I'm born and raised here. I grew up over in Washington City, attended Washington Elementary and Pineview High School, and then went on scholarship, full scholarship to Dixie College, which I enjoyed my experience there. I had the chance to work on student government there, served closely with the college president and the administration there, and enjoyed that experience. It was there at the college that I met my husband, Josh, and we were married and moved away for a little bit to finish schooling, and then came back here to Southern Utah to raise our family. We have been living over in Santa Clara for about the last 17 years, where he was born and raised over there, and just love that community on that side of town. It has been in the last 17 years that I have had the opportunity to work closely with PTA, community council, and be heavily involved in the school systems over there that all of my children have attended. I have served in every capacity, from president all the way down to fundraiser chair and everything in between. And I have just really enjoyed learning the inner workings of the school system, and worked very closely with several school administrators and principals, many teachers over the years, and parents. I have come to know and love so many parents in that community. I have formed wonderful bonds with them. I am running for school board because I am a mother, and I am passionate about my children's education and the environment that they are spending in every day. And I hope to be a voice for those parents in helping them to navigate the questions and the concerns that they have with the school system. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, my name is Craig Seegmiller. I'm the member that's on the current school board. I've been here for a few years because kids matter. And I'm grateful to be unopposed this time, by the way. That's never happened before. So I'm going to defer. Most of my time should go to these great folks that need to have your vote. But the 5 B's of public speaking: be brief, brother, be brief. So I'll be brief, okay? I'm conservative. I voted no on every tax increase the entire time that I've been on the school board, just so you know. And I continue to do that. I'm a math teacher by trade. I teach at the university. Come out and take a math class and we'll teach you that math is not a 4-letter word. It's just spelled with 4 letters. Washington County School District is a great place, and I appreciate these fine folks who are going to join me and continuing to work hard for the students of Washington County. And thank you for all of your involvement. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, is it afternoon? Good afternoon, Republican women. It's so good to be with you. I'm Larry Meyers, running in District 1, and so Heidi is going to be my worthy competition. I think we'll have a really great race, and we'll stay focused on the important issues that we've got here to talk about in the local school board. Many of you know me. I'm a longtime associate member of the Republican Women. I've been attending for many years. In fact, my first political speech when I ran for office once many years ago was to the Republican women. So I definitely support your values and the great service, community service, and the work that you do on campaigns and in the Republican Party. So for those who don't know me very well, I was born and raised in Idaho, went to BYU, both undergraduate and law school. And then my wife and I came down here to St. George. It's been about almost 30 years ago, so we're getting to be true Dixieites here with the red sand between our toes. We came here because it was a beautiful community, and I had the opportunity to be a prosecutor. I was a prosecuting attorney for a few years for both the county and the city, and then I went into private practice, and I had my own private practice since then here in St. George. We raised our family in Winchester Hills, just north of St. George. We have 3 sons, all grown now, so we're technically empty nesters, but 2 of them rent from us. You know how that goes? With the Biden economy, there's a lot of those grown children renting from their parents right now, I think. So our sons went to Dixie High School, and then they went on to college. One graduated from Utah State, one from BYU, and now our youngest is about to graduate tomorrow night from the university formerly known as Dixie. So we're excited for them. I'm running because I think that we've got some challenges that we face in our public education. And I want to be there to be a voice for each of you. The key issues that I see, number 1, returning and sticking to our traditional values. The core values of education, traditional American education, not the liberal ideologies that are being pushed across the country. We don't want that here, and we're going to oppose that here in St. George. Number 2, fiscal responsibility. I agree with Craig. It's important that we don't raise taxes. We keep spending under control. We need to be fiscally responsible. And finally, listening to parents. I sure appreciate Heidi. She sounds like a great mom, and we need to listen to parents. We need to protect parental rights. The school district needs to make sure that we respect the role of parents in children's education. So I look forward to taking your questions, and thank you for being here.
We were going to get you guys closer together, but for now, keep going.
Well, my name is Cindi Shields, and I'm the loner here who's been here only 8 years. We moved down to St. George because my daughter and my son brought the grandkids down here, and my husband and I were in a position to move down here also. I'm lucky to live 2 miles either direction from my kids and the 4 grandkids. I work at Sunrise Ridge currently, intermediate school. I'm a STEM teacher there. So I bring a different perspective. I'm retiring in June, so yes, I'm still allowed to run. This is my 2nd career. I was a letter carrier for 30 years up in Salt Lake. And in Salt Lake, I worked at a highly impacted elementary school. So I know what it's like to teach kids who are straight out of refugee camps, kids who are straight up from other countries who don't speak English, and yet we expect them to pass the end of the year test. I understand those challenges. I also understand the challenges that we have down here in St. George with our growth and the cost of education, and the challenges that the children have bringing into the classroom. It's not like when I went to school, where the distractions were so much smaller. I agree that the kids need so much more foundation in their education. I see kids come up who don't have some foundation in their reading and math. And I was a reading interventionist for many, many years. I miss teaching reading to 6th graders because it's like magic. They're like, why is this so easy? It's like, well, you just had some missing things. I think the challenges of the finances that we are looking at with this economy, everything gets more and more expensive. And as a classroom teacher, I fully understand how difficult it is to teach all the kids. I love working with the parents. I was a special education teacher up until this year. So I have a lot of experience working with parents and the needs of their child and how their child's needs need to be met in the classroom. I understand how kids need their education individualized. STEM, I teach STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. It is the best. I get to do it all. I get to do the reading, the math, the science, and I get to watch kids do exactly what we want them to be able to do, and that is solve problems on their own. Thank you for inviting me.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you. My name is Ron Wade. I am the ongoing work product of my beautiful wife, Brenda, here, who has been a participant in this Republican Good group. Thank you for all that you're doing and continue to do. My wife comes from a family of 6. I come from a family of 8. Evidence of my and her negotiation skills is that we ended up with 7. And, so all 7 of those have graduated here in the Washington County school system. Our latest just a year ago from Crimson. And I'm the product, or I'm the son of 2 educator parents. My mother and my father both, upon inception of their careers, were in the classroom. My dad later advanced his education and pursued educational administration. And from an early age, I was able to observe and listen at the dinner table the stories he would tell about public education and private education. He later became the president of Brigham Young University of Hawaii, also here, local university, Dixie State, or Dixie College at the time. And so I've been very blessed to, as I said, listen carefully at the dinner table as to the issues of the day. I graduated from Dixie High School. I came here when I was 17. No offense to my wife and her beautiful family of ranchers or to my cowboy friends, but I was the only one that wasn't wearing Wranglers when I arrived in St. George, Utah. But I proudly have Wranglers and Levi's hanging in my closet today. And I graduated from Dixie, went on to Utah State with undergraduate dual degree in business marketing and business finance. Later went on to get an international degree, a master's in international business. Although my career, and I am a businessman, I am not from the educational world, but I've had the good opportunity to participate in many educational settings as an adult, such as I was the alumni president of Dixie State. I was on the Dixie Foundation board for a decade. I was on the board of trustees, also in higher education at Dixie State. And I volunteered my time, because that's what it was. I wasn't getting paid much, as an adjunct professor at Dixie in international business and finance. I spent my life and my career as an international businessman. My partners and I have worked in over 100 countries around the world, working with companies about the size of 50 to 500 million, and solving and dealing with, as you can imagine, 100 countries, very complex and very difficult and very challenging situations. It's my hope to throw my name into the hat of being a board member here, that I might take perhaps some of those complex experiences that I've had through the years here, because it doesn't matter if it's a corporate board or a school board or any other board, there are matters of concern and difficulty, and I believe that I can contribute some skills towards solving those in a disciplined manner. Thanks.
I think we're just gonna keep going down the line of who starts first. We'll start with Craig. Maybe we can pass microphones on Craig. I guess I should read the question first. This first one is, what do you think is the most important issue facing the school district currently? So we'll start with Craig.
There's a never-ending supply. We live in a great place, but we're not isolated or insulated from some of the challenges that come. Socioeconomic issues are a challenge. If you walk into our schools now, you would be amazed at the best and the brightest, because they're better and brighter than we ever were. The best and the brightest are simply amazing, and you could walk into any school in our district and you would see excellence. What surprises me, though, is that there's the other spectrum. There's kids and families who struggle. Probably the biggest issue is helping struggling kids, and by extension, helping struggling families. Every kid doesn't get it the first time. Every kid doesn't come from a great place. Every kid's first requirement is not, how do I learn math today? It might be, man, I'm hungry and I wish I'd have gotten breakfast. Or I used to tell teachers when I was the board president, I had that opportunity, you might be the adult in that kid's life who cares more about them than any other adult they're going to see today. That's probably the biggest challenge. And our teachers do it so well. Perfectly? No, we're not perfect. But boy, this district is filled with caring folks who are really trying to do that thing, and that's to take care of kids. Thanks.
I won't apply this to our district specifically, but I think it's coming to our district. And I think what I mentioned about traditional values is the most important issue, the biggest challenge facing public education. If you've been watching the news, these students that are college students that are out protesting and committing acts of violence and property damage, I'm pretty confident that those were once public school kids, and they learned that type of thing at a very young age. So this attitude of left-wing ideology, and it covers a broad spectrum, whether it's trying to sexualize children, whether it's trying to bring in a certain political agenda, such as global warming, whether it's racial, trying to create racial divide among our children. Those things, we're seeing them across the country, and they're coming to Utah. They're going to come to our community too. And that is not going to be a happy result for our parents when they see what their children are facing in the schools. And it's going to be very damaging to our society. As Republicans, as conservatives, we've got to draw the line now. We've got to understand what's coming. We've got to have plans, and we've got to put policies in place to prevent it from taking hold here. Otherwise, we will just have social justice warriors coming out of our schools, going against everything that we believe in. So I think we've got to work together on that. Let's unite and stand for the values that we as Republicans hold dear. Thank you.
From a teacher's perspective, what I see, and a homeowner, is how do we properly fund education so that we don't lose teachers? Currently in my school, we are losing a few teachers, and that greatly impacts all the other classrooms. I have one classroom that has 18 students, 20 kids, 30 kids, and 32 kids. And the one with 32 kids is the one that's most difficult to teach because there are so many children in it. I think one of the things that we need to make sure we have is properly funded education within the limits and the tolerance of a community, and maybe finding other ways to fund education than always depending on taxes. Thank you.
I certainly echo what's being said. I would add that I've thrown myself into this hat largely because of concerns with my grandchildren. I want to make sure that the education, as I've heard some say, is teaching them how to think, not exactly what to think. And I'm deeply concerned. I am having been raised out of the United States in my early years, I'm very aware, very conscious, and love the diversity of people. But I believe that diversity should come from qualification, not from mandate. I believe that equity should exist in the form of equality, not by mandate. I believe in inclusion, that we're all children of God. And so I want to make sure that the correct principles in our school system prevail and represent our local values.
You get to Heidi.
Some of the greatest needs that I see right now are some that have already been echoed, and that is that there are kids, making sure that kids across the board, regardless of their home situations, all have the same chances and equal opportunities to be able to get the education that they need. We have some students that come to school every single day and maybe live with other family members combined in a home, or live in a motel or in their cars, and yet every day they show up to school and work hard because they know that getting an education is the most important thing that's going to help them in their life. Finding the funding to be able to make sure that the classroom sizes stay small. Those teachers that we have in Washington County do an incredible job showing up every day and teaching our students and helping them to become better citizens and better people. And we need to find ways to help them so they have the materials and the things available to them to do their job. Thank you.
Okay, this next question is, what qualifies you to oversee a district with over 4,500 employees and a $400 million budget?
Great question, and I would say when you're talking about the school board members, rather than the administration, a different skill set might be necessary. When you've got people who are administering those types of things, you're going to have people with specialties. You're going to have people who handle the finances. You're going to have people that handle the personnel and so forth. What you're looking for, I think, in a school board member is wisdom, is judgment, and is principles. And I think those who know me know that I've tried to live my life in that way, to stand for the principles that I believe in, to show good judgment and wisdom in trying to do what is right. And sometimes you have to have people who are willing to go against the grain, that when the majority is, you think they're wrong, you don't go along with the majority. Sometimes you're in the minority. Sometimes you stand up for something that's not popular. When you don't think that government lockdowns and masking our children is the right thing to do, you stand up against it, even though the governor and other people are pressuring you to do it. And so that's the type of qualification I bring. I think just the courage to stand and to try to do what's right. Thank you.
So I've asked this question of myself repeatedly over the last few months, and I bring a different perspective to the school board. I've also helped my husband run his contracting company. One of my great qualities is I'm a collaborator. I'm able to work with people and try to bring people to consensus. I like to hear all sides of the story, all sides of an issue before I make my own decisions. I believe in research. I believe in educating myself. I believe if I don't understand anything, I need to stay. Can you help me understand this? And I think that will be one of my best qualities, is to be able to work with people and draw groups together to come to a consensus.
So I've had the good fortune of 20 plus years around the world with my clients. Most of them are around that $400 to $500 million budget. So it's a very recognizable number, and I've had to solve very complex issues in legal matters, in international financial matters, in personnel matters, and logistical matters, all of which I think will come into play as we look at the budget that we're dealing with here. There are many parts, there are many contributors, and there are many needs, from teachers to employees to parents to the students. And I believe that my experience would bring some, I think, additional and different light to the very good board that we have today. Thank you.
Obviously, it's unique because I'm already on the board. And some of you may agree and some of you may disagree with some of the decisions that we made, and that's fair. The really cool thing is that every new voice has added a new perspective, and every new person that's come on the board has brought new thoughts and new opinions. The important thing is that the board doesn't have to be of the same mind when the conversation begins. What's really fascinating to see is what happens when good people get together and talk and listen and share ideas. That's when we make really good decisions. So let me share just a conversation I had that I brought up with the board just the other day. I said, the typical org chart looks, we have the boss on top, that's the superintendent. The single probably most important thing the board does is to hire a good superintendent, probably the single most important thing we do. And then it goes from there. And I said, I'd like to think of it, I'd like to flip it. I want you to think of it like this. We as the board are on the bottom. We hire the superintendent. The superintendent then is in charge of making those people under him work well. And then they're in charge of making sure that every person above them works well. Instead of being on top, I want to think at the bottom. You were hired because you now have the ability to lift more people. And if we do that job correctly with the board and the superintendent on the bottom, and then good people lifting in the district office and then as principals, then the single most important group of people in our district are the teachers. That's the single most important group, and we need to do everything we can to make sure they have what they need to have. Just so you know, they've gotten the largest raise in history 2 years ago, and they got a larger raise than that last year. The teachers are making now more than they've ever made. Will they ever make enough? No, but it's really cool to see what we're finally able to pay teachers. So thanks.
Let's see, I think we're down to Cindi for next. Oh. This question is kind of going along with that, with the funding. There was the recent change in, Craig will have to, I can't remember the top of my head, the terminology, but with the bonding, they voted on not to do the public bonds, but the restructuring of that. So I don't know if you guys need more info on that, but what are your feelings on that and how the funds are saved and used?
Boy, I would need more information on that. But I do know we had a meeting at school where the school board has worked to make sure everything is paid for so that we're debt free, which I think is outstanding. Because as a homeowner and being debt free, that frees me up a great deal. But to speak to that, I would need a lot more information. Thank you.
It's my understanding that the current board has announced publicly that they want to be fiscally responsible. They don't want to continue to pay interest payments on debt servicing, and that future capital improvements are to be done with cash on hand. So I certainly applaud that pursuit and supportive of all that they've decided on and want to continue.
Really quickly, what that vote was when I got on the board, one of my biggest concerns was, holy cow, we're paying all this interest and we're just going to be deeper and deeper and deeper in debt as we grow. And we started with 17,000 students about when I started. We're now about 34,000 students. And I thought, how are we going to pay for this if we have to keep borrowing? And we've been working on this for years. And so finally what happened during this past summer is we made a choice that we will no longer bond. Over the next 12 years and hopefully quicker, the goal is that we will not bond, we will not pay interest, and we will take the interest savings and we will pay cash going forward. As that continues, we will save 10 million a year, 20 million a year, 30 million a year, 40 million a year that we don't have to ask the taxpayers for. Weirdly, there's always a small minority that are opposed to something like that. The great majority thought it was a great idea, and it is a great idea. I am so excited. Remember when you were told, get out of debt, pay off your house? That's what we're doing in the school district. And I think it's one of the best things we've ever done. I think we're really financial. Every new voice will be awesome because you think you're doing great and a new voice will help you do even better. We build buildings cheaper than anybody in the district, and I think our districts are beautiful. Some even call them, get on the radio show and they say, boy, you're building the Taj Mahal. Well, we can't live in the one-room schoolhouse anymore, but we're still building them way cheaper than anybody in the state, and I'm really proud of that, so thanks.
Well, I don't think I'm weird, but I am going to question this. The principle that we've just heard about of staying out of debt and trying to avoid bonding and paying cash as you go, that's a correct principle. And to the degree that government can do that, it should. But here's the flip side of it. I've been in meetings with a lot of taxpayers, and they're coming and they're saying, why did my tax bill go up? Why did my property tax go up? Why am I paying more to the school district than I did before? And a lot of them are people who don't even have children in the school district. And so what was it about that change that raised many people's taxes? That's the flip side that we have to ask. Whenever we make these changes in policy, it sounds like somebody's paying for it, okay? And so I think we need somebody on there that's listening to the taxpayers and that can be a voice for the taxpayers. They don't want their taxes going up in a time like this when inflation is running rampant. So that's the type of thing that I would do. I would say, you know, what's the flip side of this? Sure, the one message sounds great that we're giving out to the public, but who is it going to affect and how is it going to affect them? And I think that I'll be effective in that because I have the ability to ask the right questions. I have people who are willing to come to me from across the county, hopefully from my district, but anyone's welcome to come and talk to me. If your taxes went up, let's find out why. What's going on here? It sounds good, but to me, property tax increases do not sound good. Thank you.
So a follow-up to that was asked is what, can you specify, maybe Craig, can you clarify for us on what the taxes how that is going up or how that affects us?
Thank you. That's the frustrating part because what Larry just said was wrong. And I apologize because I'm not running against Larry, but what Larry just said was wrong. If your tax went up, that's because about 1/5 of all taxpayers have their tax reevaluated every year. You know that, right? So you might have gone up because you were one of the 1/5. But if we could sit you down and we could go through your taxes over the last 4 years, you would say, holy cow, my taxes did not go up as a result of what the school district did. Your taxes did not go up because of a result of what the school district did. And furthermore, they are frozen and they can only go down henceforth and forevermore without coming to the public for a vote. Taxes can never go up without coming to you for a vote. I hope you understand that. They are capped. And once they come down, they can't go up. And when they come down, they can't go up. And when they come down, they can't go up. So that was the small minority. It was frustrating because it's impossible to communicate 100% what we're doing. Taxes did not go up because of what we did. They may have gone up because you were one of the unlucky 1/5 in the county. But taxes year over year over year are coming down. And again, they're capped and will come down forever. And we made this pledge, and I told at those public meetings, if this board ever raises taxes, vote them all out, including me, ever votes to raise taxes, then you should vote us all out. Okay? That's how strongly I feel. So I hope that explains it.
Do we get rebuttal?
Where do you want?
No, and I appreciate what Craig says. If I'm wrong, I want somebody to tell me I'm wrong. But I don't think that's what I said. I said we have to ask these questions and we have to make sure there's not unintended consequences. And I said that my door will be open to people who are asking those questions. Why did my taxes go up? Clearly, the district could do a better job of messaging and explaining what's happening if people are blaming the tax increase on their taxes going up. So I think what I said was right.
Were you looking for a response from me, or are we moving to another question?
If you'd like to comment on that, do others who have any rebuttal to that, you can.
I don't have a rebuttal to that, and I love the position they've taken, but there is the situation that might loom in the future that I'm sure that we've all thought about, which is no one likes to be beholding to revenue streams that you can't particularly control. And so if the day were to arise where, let's say our federal government imposed things upon us locally that simply could not be sustained, it might change where we'd have to, with Craig and this great board, take it to the public again. So the attempt and the effort to not raise taxes, beautiful. Would the day ever come? Potentially so. But that would be one scenario where it might. Hope it doesn't.
Talk loud. Let's see, who started that one? I forget. Cindi got that one? Okay, so I'll start with Ron on this. So we're gonna shift gears to some curriculum-based questions. What are your thoughts, or how would you handle on the board ideologies and curriculum that come up pertaining to critical race theory, whatever it's named, the pornographic materials in the library, those kind of situations?
I'm just simply in opposition to all of that you just mentioned. I'm not totally familiar with all of the federal, state, and local situations, but I'm bringing myself up to speed as to how it needs to be correctly, legally addressed, but I oppose all that you just mentioned.
Ron just said it as simply as it can be said. The entire board has opposed those things vociferously and strongly opposed those things. By the way, I mean, I agree with Larry on the mask issue. We were the first district to open schools. Did you know that? Probably in the nation, because we were the first in Utah, and Utah was the first in the nation. So you talk about conservative. I mean, we're conservative. We have fought the book issue. We were the first in the state to take that on, but we consulted with attorneys, and we consulted with the state attorney, because they said if you do it wrong, you could be sued and you could lose, because of some pretty wacky court cases back east. But if you do it right, you can win, and we did, and we have. And those books are leaving. How they got in there in the first place is a long story. But do good people want them there? No, nobody wants them there. And we're getting rid of them as fast as we can. There has to be a process to follow the legal. But no, it shouldn't be there. Critical race theory shouldn't be taught. And if some of that stuff sneaks in, the public's got to tell us, because how do I know what some obscure teacher across the district might have said on a Thursday in their class? I don't know. But if a teacher has issue, but if a family has issue with it, boy, would want to know, because no, they have no place. And we will be fighting that battle forever. We will be fighting to keep that stuff out of our schools forever. You know we will. And I'll tell you what, we're up to the fight. Really quick story. A couple of years ago, an entity from outside the state came to the school district, and they threatened us. They said, you guys are saying prayer and we're going to sue you. I just want you to know that I was the first and loudest voice that said, bring it on, because we're not doing anything wrong. And we're still saying prayers, and they've gone away. So.
And I agree with a lot of what you said, and definitely we're going to keep praying, no doubt about that. Here's how I would say it on this question. Number one, as I said from the beginning, the heart of my campaign and my service, if I'm elected, will be to stand for our traditional values and to oppose all of these left-wing ideologies, whether it's racial, whether it's sexual, whether it's a political game that they're trying to play. We will oppose those things, and we'll focus on the fundamentals of education, reading, writing, that four-letter word math, and all those other good things that our children should be learning in the schools. The legislature, the Utah legislature, has done a good job of trying to fight this, I'd say. Neil, I see you. Thank you for the work you guys do. Our governor has not done a good job of helping us do that. There's some things that he's failed to do that we need leadership on. Our state school board has fallen short in some ways, and I think our local school board has done some good things. They've made a good effort. They've tried to listen. I think some of us might agree that they have been a bit intimidated by the talk about lawsuits, and it is frustrating when a group comes and says, we're going to sue you if you do this. It makes it hard for politicians to do the right thing. And so we're going to have to be a little stronger there. We're going to have to find ways to take a legal stance to do what is right, even if it might cost us, even if we might have to take on a legal battle. There is still a lot of work to be done. Anyone that's been involved with this battle to get the pornography out of our school libraries knows that there's still work to be done. I think our policies can still be better. Thank you.
I think content should be age and grade appropriate. I don't know a single teacher who's ever taught critical race theory, because it is not appropriate in the elementary or the high school. It was a college set of instructions and things that were at college level. As a teacher, our library has safeguards in place that parents get emails whenever a student checks out a book. I've had parents get a hold of our library and say, my student cannot check out horror books because they give him nightmares. And it's in our library checkout system. Students will come up and will say, nope, you can't have that book. So we're supporting parents in what they want their children to read and see. And I think the things that are in schools should be age and grade appropriate. And as a teacher, I'm very cautious about what I teach my students so that I make sure I respect families and the families' desires for what their students need to learn. Have you got a chance to speak to this? Okay. Thank you.
I don't think there we go. Now it's working. I do appreciate that, Cindi, as well. I'm sorry, Ron, did we not?
No, sorry, I was just
Okay.
gonna pass it on.
Okay, you're good. The library policy, I always get the emails of what my kids check out, and it's good because then I can talk to them about it. All right, a follow-up on that one, we've had some ask about kind of along those same lines of what kind of policies do you see to help with the issues we're seeing with transgenders in sports, protecting our girls in those, and where do you see our local district with that? I think we're back at, yeah.
Well, politically, I wish that the governor was a little bit stronger on this issue because boys should not be playing on girls' teams, period. End of story. It's a great way to take a girl off of team that she should be playing on. It's a great way to have a girl get hurt. It just shouldn't be part of it. A lot of you don't know that we already deal with some of these issues. But right now, we deal with it in the bed. You think maybe it hasn't hit us yet. Oh no, it's hit us. But we deal with it in the best, quietest, sweetest, most appropriate way possible. And that is individually and quietly. Do we have some kids that are having struggles? And do we have some kids that are using different bathrooms? Yeah. But you don't know about it because we're handling it the right way. Walk into a school and you don't know that there's a kid because they're now going to the faculty bathroom, but they're not going to the inappropriate bathroom. Yes, the Biden administration just announced some new rules that they haven't taken. I suspect there's probably going to be multiple lawsuits because they're trying to force our hand in doing these things. But I do appreciate what the legislature gave us some tools that said about what we can do with bathrooms. The fight's not over. The fight is here, okay? But right now, the fight is being handled one-on-one quietly to help a kid while protecting all the other kids. So if the fight needs to be louder and more public, we may get to that point. But right now, the fight is handled appropriately and quietly and individually. So we're protecting that kid, but we're also protecting the majority of the kids as well. So that's what's happening right now.
Agree with that and definitely add to it. The governor needs to protect women, and so we need to put the pressure on to protect women's sports. Personally, I'm supporting Phil Lyman. Thank you right there. We got Phil Lyman for governor on the shirt. And that's the type of change we need. And frankly, I'm going to be campaigning for those type of candidates for the next couple months because our race will be later in the year. And so that's the type of thing that I do is I try to fight for what's right when it's time. And if we're going to change that type of issue, it's definitely got to start at the top with leadership in our state. But coming down to the personal level, number one, for those who know me, I try to treat everyone with respect. I try to be loving, I try to be kind, and that's the way we need to be to children who are struggling with these issues. On the other hand, we don't make believe, we don't pretend, we don't let them persist in things that are going to be harmful to them. And we have to set our policies in a way that are not going to harm the children, but instead are going to help them to be healthy and to have a healthy future. And so while we will be kind, and I think the way the district's trying to handle it is appropriate, we've got to make sure that the policies we take and the way that we handle these things are very firm. There is man and there is woman, and that is what there is, okay? That's what I believe, and that's what I will stand for on the board. So thank you.
would just like to echo what Greg said, because that's how we handle it. You have children who have different needs, and so we handle their different needs privately and quietly. As the grandmother of a granddaughter, I also want to protect her in her needs for privacy. But I would just totally like to echo and thank you for what we have in place in Washington County.
I haven't spoken to Craig about this, but I did reach out by phone with a couple other current board members and asked what was going on, what could they share, how's this being handled. I was so thrilled to hear what Craig has just said to all of us. It has been respectfully managed best it can at this point. I might add that I think, Craig, that involves that the parents are totally on board with how it's handled for that boy or girl who needs that sensitive attention and support. So echo all of that.
All right, we're gonna switch gears. We've got time for a couple more before your closing statements. So this question is, let's see, what is the status of putting armed officers in every school, or how do you feel about that? What are your views on keeping our schools safe?
Well, we definitely need to keep our schools safe. I'm going to come down strongly on school safety, so that part of it's easy. As far as I know, a lot of the schools do have officers in the school here in our school district. I think there's been a long time collaboration between St. George City, I know, St. George Police Department. I'm not sure necessarily about some of the other cities. Nanette could probably tell us about Hurricane. And so to the degree that we can do that and have officers available to help with safety and security, I think it can be a good thing. At the same time, I'm 100% a Second Amendment person. I'm 100% the right to defend yourself and the right to defend others from evildoers. And so I support the right of teachers to conceal carry, of parents to conceal carry. I think the best deterrent to any person who wants to do evil is people who will immediately resist. And so whatever we can do to have policies in place, whether it's just through the structures that we have in the schools that protect children, but also in the respect that we have for people who are willing to stand up and defend. The left will tell you that we've just got to get rid of guns, but then only the bad guys, of course, will have guns and we'll have death and destruction. So my position is more guns, less crime.
Let's see if I can get my thoughts together on this one. I'm your first line of defense for your children at my school. I'm expected to make sure that door is locked at all times. I'm expected to walk the hall and make sure that the restroom that's next to my classroom is empty, and I pull kids into my classroom. Okay, a second. And I do this willingly. These are the children. I look at all my students as my children. I love having an armed SRO, school resource officer, in our school because they do more than just walk around with their weapon. They're creating relationships with their students. They're creating relationships with families. They're often the first one to hear about the whispers of things that are going on in the school. Students will often talk to an SRO before they'll talk to an administrator or a teacher. But in terms of protecting your children, I pull every door behind me and I lock it. I think the security measures we have in our schools right now are awesome. I love having those doors locked. I love locking my door. You can't get into my classroom. My classroom door is always locked. And in terms of safety and security, I think there's a lot that we can also do with communication with families. So, thank you.
That's pretty raw to watch one of our teachers have that kind of emotion, and rightfully so. I'm not completely familiar, but I have looked into some information that I know is circulating with the board and with the association of something in reference, I think, along the lines of school guardian protection as well. I know it's not an implementation, but it's an idea that I believe is being discussed and entertained. There's all kinds of possibilities to that being added to what already exists, but there are some serious challenges, it seems to appear, as to the training, the implementation, the legalities of all of that. But the pursuit of safety of children and our teachers is absolutely paramount, of course.
What is happening currently, you heard reference to SROs, that's school resource officer, that's officers in our school. All high schools, all intermediate schools, and all middle schools have an officer in them right now. They're not to the elementaries yet. There's just hasn't been enough funding to get there yet, but all those other schools have an officer, and it's awesome, okay? Some safety things are protected. In fact, when we talk about them as a school board, the recorder goes off. But I can tell you that safety is talked about continually. There are safety strategies that probably can't be discussed publicly, but I want you to know that the district takes it very, very seriously. And it seems like that's just going to be more and more and more necessary to protect our kids. Having great teachers who lock doors. We have procedures in place. There are procedures in place at every school. We have officers in place. And then we have other security measures that, again, the board's not even permitted to talk about publicly. Is it completely sufficient? Probably not. Hopefully we don't ever have one of those awful occurrences. We're doing everything we can to prevent those things. And it's paramount pretty much in everything we do on school board. So.
Cindi to start. We have time, I think, for one more question, then we'll have you guys give closing statements. So this last question is in regards to the Utah Fits All scholarship that passed 2 years ago. It's in regards to school choice. Families can apply for that scholarship. So do you have thoughts on it? Do you support that? Support school choice? Anything in that area you want to talk about?
Well, I think parents have always had a tremendous amount of choice, especially in Utah. I have grandkids who are on Utah Online. You have charter schools, you have your public schools, you have your private schools, and you have homeschooling. I have family that homeschools their children. I have mixed feelings about having the choice of money go to homeschooling. I think homeschooling is a personal choice that you would take on as your own. I see a lot of money going out to homeschool families under the, what is it called? What was it called again?
Utah Scholarship.
Yeah, Utah Scholarship. And I've thought a lot about this, that we need to fund our schools, and that is a lot of money going out of the public schools into families. And the families I know that use the scholarship money in a different state, they run a fabulous homeschool situation. So I kind of have mixed feelings on it. I see as families who want to homeschool their children and they need the financial support to it. Because realistically, teaching is expensive, and getting quality education into your children with your curriculum, any kind of computer systems, things like that, it's costly, and not every family can afford it. So I see both sides of the issue. And I'm not willing to say it's good or it's bad. Thank you.
When I speak, I typically like to do so when I'm well educated and informed. And on this matter, I need more time to look at all the options. So if it's okay, I'll give the time to these guys here.
It's pretty new. I have misgivings about giving public money to private institutions. I've also been completely pro homeschool if that's what you want to do with your family. But this scholarship is new, it's different. For the first time, we're basically saying if you want money to homeschool your kids, we'll provide it for you, or we can provide it for you. And I don't know, I think the jury's still out. It is so new that I first heard about this a couple of weeks ago in any detail. Okay, so I mean, here I am on the board, and we first heard about this in any detail just a few weeks ago. Probably still too new to give you a thus saith kind of opinion. I just have misgivings about giving public money to private institutions. But I've always been pro, if you want to homeschool your kids, you have to absolutely have the right. We work with homeschool families. We invite them to participate when we can. There's just a lot more that has to be discussed because the state has to figure out, okay, if you homeschool your kid, when can they participate in sports? What if you want to homeschool, but you want to play on the basketball team? What are the requirements? There's a lot to be discussed. So I don't know, it's probably too soon for me to give you the hardest of hard lines yet. So that's where we are. It's being discussed.
So as I said in the beginning, one of my 3 key issues that I'm running on is respecting parents and parental rights. And so that goes right along with our Republican platform. Under education, if you look at our platform, it says that parents are primarily responsible. I'm not be using the right word, but parents are responsible for their children's education. And everything beyond that is just help, okay? So that's where I stand. I definitely support parents who want to homeschool, who want to send their children to private schools, religious schools, definitely 100% for parental choice. What I have always favored, and I've pushed this for many years and it never seems to catch on, is what's called a tuition tax credit, where those who put money towards tuition, whether it's for homeschool or private or religious, whatever, could get a tax credit. And that way there's no strings attached. You just mark it on your tax form. This is how much I paid. You get some credit on your taxes. It could apply to businesses too. It could apply to grandparents. It's not just parents. Anybody that puts money towards that could get the tax credit. The reason I like that is the same concern that has been expressed. Public money, which is our money, it's not government money, it's taxpayer money, going to private schools always comes with strings attached. And even if they say it doesn't, sooner or later it will. There's always going to be pressure to say, look, now we gave you this money. Now you have to take this test. Now you have to meet this standard. Now what does the Biden administration say? We gave you this federal money. Now you have to let boys play girls sports, that type of thing. And so I do have concerns, but it's because of the strings attached. I say parents, take responsibility for your children. Make sure they have a great education. Don't let the government stop you from doing that.
Thank you so much. We tried to get through as many as we could. We're at 1 o'clock, so we're gonna. I think we're at Ron to start. Any closing remarks you'd like to give?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to introduce ourselves to you. If you feel that qualified diversity in boards is wholesome and ultimately leads to informed and well-made decisions, I would love to have your support. As a predominant business person, but with ample educational experience, I'd love to be able to contribute my experience on this board. Thank you very much.
Since I'm here and since I happen to be fortunately unopposed this time for the first time ever, can I just express my gratitude? I appreciate the privilege it is to serve on the board. I love it. People say, are you having fun? No, because that's not what we're doing. But is it satisfying service? Yes, that it is. I feel like we make a difference. I can tell you how deeply, between my board and my teaching experience, I lost track at somewhere about 40 years, okay? If you add them up, I guess when I went to BYU, I was gonna do anything but be a teacher. And I went into the engineering class, and about 3 days later, I was in the teaching class because I knew I didn't want to be an engineer anymore, okay? I love being in the classroom. I love that interaction. I love Washington County School District. My great-great-grandfather came in 1864, and we were either too dumb or too smart to leave. We've been here ever since. I appreciate your support. I'm grateful, and I'm looking forward to working with 2 of these 4 fine people who have put their names up, because it's not easy to do. Thank you to me, and thank you for them, and I look forward to working with them in the future, and appreciate y'all.
Well, thank you again for having us. This has been a good forum. I think each person up here has said some great things. Love the Seegmiller family, and you guys were smart enough to stay here. This is a great place, despite the heat and the desert. We can make do with that. The reason I decided to run is because of the challenges we face. I don't have any desire to have power. I don't have any desire to run your life. I just believe that we're facing some real challenges to our traditional principles, and we need people who will stand up, and I feel like I can do that. Do I have time to serve on the school board? No, it's a big thing, right? You don't get paid very much for doing this, but you make time because you care about the community. And so those of you who live in Santa Clara, Ivins, the northern part of the county, which is northwest, Highway 18 and out to Enterprise and Gunlock, that's District 1. I'd love to win your vote. If you don't live in that area, you probably have some friends who do. Tell them about my campaign and what they could do to help, what they could do to host a meeting. I'd be glad to go to people's homes. I plan to go door to door. We have Janine here. She worked her tail off and won a seat on the Santa Clara City Council. And so that's a great example to us of what grassroots campaigning can do. Good job, Janine. So I've had some great mentors here who have led the way, and I will serve faithfully if elected. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's been great listening to everybody's opinion and seeing new perspectives. I was invited by someone I really respect. She said, you should run for school board. You're retiring. I'm retiring in June. It's going to be so sweet. And she said, you need to continue to serve the students of Washington District, which I agree. I have a lot of experience. I have a different perspective. And I think it will be a great way to start my retirement, to continue to serve students within the I almost said Salt Lake District, I'm so sorry. Washington County District. Thank you for your time and your questions.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much to the candidates. Let's give them a round of applause. It takes a lot of courage to throw your hat in the ring, so I appreciate you guys. I have 3 young boys in elementary, so I appreciate the education. All right, well, I think we have concluded our time. Just note that our luncheon next month will be June 6th, and we are back at Santa Clara Town Hall. We had to kind of juggle some venues this year, so just note that'll be at Santa Clara Town Hall. And I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
So moved. All right, I'm sure the candidates, if they have a minute, you can catch them individually, but thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for moving that. Yes. I forgot the last part.
Oh, that's